Today we go over how to use controller on the Cycle Frontier, and I'm going to teach you everything you need to know to set it up perfectly. Before we get into it, shout out to these guys that left comments on some of my previous videos. Also, make sure you're subscribed to the channel if you want some videos just as good as this one. And now, let's get into it. So the Cycle Frontier does not have controller support. It does have controller compatibility, but it doesn't have full support. So I'm going to show you exactly what you need to do to use controller on the Cycle, and it can be very complicated, so stay with me through this whole process. So the first thing we're going to go and do is we're going to go and open up Steam, and then we're going to head to our library. Once we're at our library, we're going to go over to the Cycle Frontier. As we see here, there are some tabs like Store Page, Community Hub, Find Groups, all of this. So if you want this setting, you're going to have to go to the gearbox, you're going to have to go to Properties, and then go to Controller, and just make sure it's on and you have the right controller selected. And then what you're going to do is get your controller and make sure it's in your PC and it's all lit up and it's ready to go. And then just close it, and then you'll see controller layout pops up right here on the right hand side. Now we're going to click it and we're going to go step by step on this process because this is honestly super confusing. Now let's go over everything you need to know to get your controller to be working perfectly. I'm going to have little to no cuts so you guys can understand what I'm doing at all times. Now let's go section by section and really understand how to get this to activate. So first things first, let's click on the left trigger, and this is going to be your run button. And I made this button my run button just because the left analog stick, the left joystick, doesn't work very well. You have to push it in super hard to be able to move and be able to run around the maps, and it'll definitely help you out in the long run. So if we click on left trigger, these are all the binds you're gonna need. So make sure for full pull action, you have left shift, soft pull action, you have hair trigger, and you make sure you have all of these settings just identical to what I have. This is fairly simple. Pause the video, match everything up perfectly to what I have here. And then once you're done with that, you're going to back out, and then you're going to move on to the next button, which is right underneath. And this is going to be your ADS button. If you don't like what I'm using on my settings and you want to flip these two, just do the opposite. So when I'm explaining the top one, you're going to be doing the bottom one. If I'm explaining the bottom one, you're going to be doing the top one. So if you want to use the left trigger the other way, just do that the complete opposite way. But now let's go over the ADS. So we're going to click on this next one. This is ADS. This is super easy. We're just going to click on the right mouse button here, and that's going to make it. So when we click this button, it's going to ADS for us. This one is super easy. There's no double bind here, just a simple ADS button. Once you get that done, click back. We're gonna go over to the pause button here. Again, make this whatever you want. This one's a little buggy for me. I tried to make it push to talk, but it didn't work too well. So again, you can play with it. Put T just for now and see how it works for you, because it didn't work for me, but maybe it'll work for you. So now that we have the top left section completely done, now let's go over the right trigger, and this is gonna be the left mouse button. And the reason I'm gonna have two shooting binds here is just because it makes it easier in some menu settings. So just bear with me, do what I do, and it should work fine for you. So now over these settings, I don't have a full pull action. Don't worry about that. Go over soft pull action. Let's go to soft pull action, click it, make sure it's on left mouse, and then once it's on left mouse, leave it alone. Don't press anything else, and make sure all of these settings match completely to what I have to your screen, and then back out from there. Then we're going to go to the next button, which is right underneath it. It's going to be that top button on your controller. We'll click it. This again is going to be the same exact thing. So click left mouse button. And once you have that done, back out of that setting. Again, keep pausing. Stay motivated. We got this. Process is long and confusing, so stay with me and we'll get through it. So then after that, you're going to back out from there. And then the next button is going to be one of your inventory buttons. Let's go over this button. You click this. You click I, just because when you're in your main hub, when you're in the player quarters, stuff like that, you can just press the options button, and this will make it so your inventory pops right up. So make sure you have that binded to I. And then once you have that done, we're going to back out, and now we're going to get into the real juice of this, because these buttons down here are the ones that can be a little bit confusing. So let's start on the D-pad. So let's go over here. There are a couple things we have to understand. Make sure these settings, when you get into here, are all exactly the same. We'll go over the additional settings very quickly before we get into the actual D-pad binds. So click additional settings, make sure all of these matched. I don't know if you have anything else binded or something. Just make sure these match, and then it's simple. Once these match, click the back button, and now we're back to here. We're going to start from the top of the D-pad and make our way around. So we're going to go here to here to here to here. So let's start up here on the top button, and this is going to be your inventory button, the main inventory button that you're going to use. So bind it to I, just press the I button. You'll see it light up in green, and then press back, and now that's done. It should just say I. Now let's go over to the right D-pad button. We're going to click it. This is going to be your button to press heals and grenades. So when you press it, it's going to basically do what your E button did. Even if your E button isn't for your meds, we're going to switch all of your binds later in the video anyway, and you can even use an alternate set of binds. So don't worry, just make sure you have all of these settings to make your controller work perfectly in the cycle. Once you have that bind, we're gonna go down here to the bottom and we're gonna press this button. Now this, it says emotes, but it's actually your knife. Don't bother with these names. You can name them so it helps you out, but for me, I already know what they do. So you're gonna bind V, because this is gonna be the button you press when you wanna take out your knife. So you're gonna press bottom on the D-pad and your knife is gonna pop right up. So that is for you. Once you get that V button done, we're gonna go over here to the left side of the D-pad, and this is the first multi-bind button that we have. So we're gonna click it right here, and there are a lot of buttons and a lot of things that might be a little bit overwhelming. So let's go over it really quickly. So you're gonna have a regular press and a double press. If you don't have this double press button, do not worry. You're gonna go over here to add activator, you're gonna click it, and then a third icon is gonna pop up. You're gonna go to activation type, and you're gonna see where it says double press. Click double press, and now I do have double, but you only want to have one of these. So if you accidentally add another activator, just go to activation type on the one you don't want and go all the way above where it says none and remove activator, and now it's gone. So now for the regular press, this is going to be when you just tap the button lightly, a simple tap. This is going to pull out your map. So you're going to go to binding and you're going to press the M key here, and this is going to bind the map to your left D-pad. So when you press the left D-pad down, it's going to pull out your map. Now if we go to double press, this is going to be a double press where you press it twice and you hold it down a little bit longer on that second press. This is going to be binded to your Q button, and this makes it so you can take out your pickaxe, your binoculars, all of that stuff in that little area that you have when you press Q. So now that we have Q done, we're going to back out from here, and now we do have two indicators. Make sure all of these settings are on. So for double press, make sure all of these settings are the same for you. Regular press, make sure all of these settings are the same for you. Now we're going to back out again, and that's it for the D-pad. So if you got confused on the D-pad section, watch it again. Make sure you understand it. Leave comments if you have any questions. I'll get back to you ASAP. Now let's go back and go to the joysticks. Now joysticks can be a little confusing. I'll explain why I have certain things doing certain things, but just make sure they all match so it'll work for you. So let's go to the left analog stick, and this is going to be your move button, obviously. So copy everything I have. So style of input is going to be joystick move, so match that first. Then we're going to go to output, and this is going to be left joystick. And then for click action, this is going to be left control, and left control is going to be the crouch button. So if this is not your crouch button, don't worry, because again, we're going to have an alternate set of binds in the cycle to help you out to match all of these settings with your current one. So again, just match what I have and do not worry. Just click left control and back out and have all of this matching. We'll go to additional settings really quickly to see if you have anything different. So additional settings, and make sure all of these match with what I have and what you have. So once you go to additional settings, click it, make sure everything matches. Then we're going to click back, and now we're back at the left analog stick menu. We're going to click back again, and now we're back to this screen. Now this right joystick is a little bit confusing. So we are going to click on the right joystick. We're going to click it, and there are a lot of settings that we have to kind of adapt to. So first things first, style of input, joystick mouse. Make sure it's on joystick mouse. Then we go to click action, and you'll see that I have two buttons pressed. So you're going to want regular press to be left mouse, and you'll see here we have certain reasons for that. So just make sure that regular press is on left mouse. Then if you don't have double press there, we're going to do the same thing we did for that other bind. We're going to add an activator. We're going to go to activation type, press double press, and then if you want to delete it, press none, but just make sure you have a double press there. Just make sure you press this button down when you're in your inventory, because this is used for double clicking items in and out of your inventory. So just make sure you have that good and all set up. Now let's go back, make sure all of these settings are correct. Now we have something called mode shifting here, and mode shifting just makes it so it's kind of a double action type thing. So if we click mode shifting, we'll see we are now in the left trigger soft pull. So make sure this matches your exact settings. Make sure you have the mouse sense the same. It's right between the S and the E in sensitivity. Make sure all of these are the same. We'll go to additional settings in this setting. So we click this, make sure all of this is the same for you. Pause the video so you kind of have an understanding. Then when we go back, we're going to be in the left trigger soft pull menu. Then if we go back one more time, we're going to be in the other menu, which is the joystick mouse menu. So just there's a lot of menus to deal with, so just make sure you have everything the same. And now if we go back one more time, we are now in the actual full menu of the controller. Now that the analog sticks are done, let's go over to the last area, and this is going to be your right area on the controller. Now if you click it, there's a lot of binds here that we have to go over. We'll go top and to the right, to down, to left. So we're going to start up here on your controller, whatever button this is, click it, And now this is going to be, again, a double button. So add an activator. Make sure you have a long press activated. Make sure you add a long press option. But first things first, let's go over regular press. So when we go to regular press, go to binding, flip up on the scroll wheel. This is going to make it so you can actually switch weapons when you're in a raid. So that just makes it super easy to go from weapon to weapon to weapon to weapon. So once you have that done, you're going to go over to the long press option and you're going to bind it to Y. And this is going to be the button that you're going to press when you're evacuating. So if you want to call your evac in, you hold down this button and your evac is going to be called. Again, make sure all of these settings are identical. This is for the long press option and this is for the regular press option. Once you have that done, we're going to back out one more time. Now we're going to go to the right button on this right hand side. We're going to click it and this is super easy. This is the escape button. It's going to be what you use to exit out of menus. So super easy. Press escape, back out, and that's done for that area. Now let's go to the bottom button, which is going to be your jump button. Now we click the button and we have two options again, regular press and long press. So again, add activator, go over the steps again, add a long press, and then once you have both of these options, you're going to go to binding on the regular press and press the space bar, which is going to be your jump button. So once you have this done, just make sure it's on space bar, then press back, then go to the long press option, and we're going to go to binding again and make sure it's on space again. So this is a double bind for jump because sometimes if you want to climb a ledge, you want to hold down that space bar to get onto that ledge. And now this makes it so when you jump, it's just a smoother process. You can hold the button down. You don't have to give it like a light tap or anything. Just make sure you have these settings on and it'll make jumping so much smoother for you. So now let's press back again and we're going to go over to the last bind on this controller and we're going to click it. Now this is a lot of binds here. So as you see, I have R and F toggled, and this is when you press toggle multi-button on, and once it is on, you can toggle two buttons at the same time. So make sure you toggle R and you toggle F, and once they're both lit up in green, you are good. And this is going to make it so you can use doors, pick up items on the ground, stuff like that, and it's going to make it so you can actually reload your weapon. So make sure you have both of these buttons binded to this, and then once you're done, you have toggle multi-button on, you have R and F selected, you're going to press back, and you're going to press back one more time. Make sure all of this matches up, button pad, activator settings, make sure it's all good. Then we're going to back out, and this is what it should look like. This is the final product of your controller. And now let's go over to the cycle and match everything up there that you need to be able to use this stuff successfully. So once we're in the cycle, and one thing you have to know is if you want to go around with the controller and you want to tap certain things, you're not going to press X button to select character. You're going to push down on the right analog stick to select things. So if I move over and I click down, it's going to move to shop. So just understand that this right analog is going to be your go-to for selecting things. One thing you also have to understand that some things just won't work because again, this is as good as you're going to get with controller. When I'm in the hideout, I usually just use mouse and key because it's easier for me to just maneuver around here just to get stuff quickly ready for my next raid. I can show you an example real quick. So if I go to quick shop, I press X and I want to maneuver, somehow my mouse just doesn't show up. Like sometimes it just kind of bugs and it just doesn't show up. So you kind of have to get the perfect settings in order for it to show up. Like right there, I just started spamming right analog before I loaded in. And now I can select stuff. So I can press the right analog, switch to weapons. And if I want to buy something like a bag, I click bag and then I go to buy, like purchase, and I click it. Now I purchased a bag. So again, there are things you can do. It's just a little buggy sometimes. Now for the keybinds, I'm going to scroll through them very quickly. I'm going to show you all my keybinds so you can match up what I have to yours, or you can put them as a secondary keybind just so it works for you on controller, and then you can unbind them later down the road. And all these keybinds are going to make it so your controller is going to be completely compatible with this game. So I'm just going to do a quick scroll down just so you guys can see everything that I have. I didn't switch much. I only switched like crouch button and like voice to talk sometimes. So just take this with a grain of salt and just understand that all these binds are going to be made to use for the controller. So just make sure you have everything matched up. Now let's go over to the controls so it'll help you understand what you're going to want to be using for controller. So for controller sense, this is what I use. You're going to want to have your sensitivity in the 2.5 to 3 area. It's a slower sense just because there is not aim assist. Sadly, there is no aim assist, so you have to understand that you're going to want a slower sense in this game. So I use 2.8, turn all inverts off, and you're going to want to have mouse smoothing on just because it makes it so your kind of screen just flows a little better. Just make sure you have it on. You'll understand why later down the road. Now for aim sensitivity options, you're going to enable per optic sensitivity, and you're going to go over each of these settings. So you're going to go 0.8, 0.8, then 0.6 down the road, and you can always change this as you go. Go to your field this is just a good base to have you covered when you're entering that first game. So when you're getting ready for a raid on a controller, you can double tap stuff with your right analog stick. So just double tap stuff in and out of your inventory. So double tap, and that's how I get ready for raids, just so you know. It can be a little confusing since you are on controller, but just double tap that right stick and it'll work perfectly fine for you. So once we are ready for raid, as you see, we have all of this stuff done, and now we are ready to go into a raid. This screen is a little buggy, so you got to kind of bear with it, or just use your mouse and key to just select them. It can be easier. So once we are landed in, as you see, this is me spinning in a circle real quick, just so you guys understand how quick this sense is. This is me aiming in, how quick the sense is. We're going to move, try to get a couple kills on some creatures here. Again, I'm going to have a whole video attempting to use controller, so look out for that in the future, because controller is no easy feat, but I think if you use it enough, you can definitely get into it. So right here, there are some mobs. Let's see what we can really do here. So we're going, we get some shots off, solid shots. We can sprint, we can jump, we can kind of aim down sights, understand how we're killing these creatures. And again, as you see, my recoil control isn't that bad. It kind of stays somewhat straight. It's just going to be something to get used to, especially if you're going to grind controller. It's very, very possible, and trust me, once you get full controller support on this game, you will be a young god, because you will be grinding with no aim assist for so long that once you get aim assist, you're like, bro, what the hell is this? I literally have aimbot. So if you honestly want to be one of the best controller players out there and you start doing this, this is the way to do it. Start practicing, start grinding. We're going to run around, see if we can find someone and try to get a kill real quick. I doubt it, but let's try it. So right there, we just got absolutely shredded. Now we pulled E out with our D-pad. We have all our meds out here just waiting to be used. So we're going to med up real quick and really try to get some solid shots on him. I know he's going to push up. Oh my god, I cannot believe we just got a kill. I mean, fair enough, he just stopped moving, but that was kind of nuts. I mean, dude, if I was used to controller, man, we might have had that, honest to God. I want to see how much I hit that second guy for. I don't think it was much. We hit him for 59, which wasn't that bad. We killed the other one, so Jesus, that was tough. But again, it's doable. So just understand that this is a process that you got to kind of go through slow and steadily. So guys, thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. And if this helped you in any way, please leave a like and subscribe. If you have any more questions or if something doesn't work, join my Discord, hit me up, just DM me, and I'll be happy to help you out. So thank you for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next one. Deuce!